everybody. It's Natalie Bencivenga, and welcome back to another edition of Facts Over Fear. I am joined today with my wonderful friend, Nick Powers. You guys might know him as that Nick Powers guy on social media. He's a huge content creator over there and an author, which is super cool and exciting. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. How are you?
You know, Nick, I don't even know why I bother asking anyone how they're doing these days, because I feel like we could just launch into an existential crisis at any moment.
Yes, that is so true.
But in this moment, talking to you, my friend, I'm good. I have a lot of topics I want to discuss today in the wheelhouse of affordability in the United States and how things are completely out of reach for most Americans, just like groceries and healthcare. So we're going to dig into that. The first thing we're going to talk about is an article that More Perfect Union focused on with some other people and other organizations in the consumer report space on how there are hidden price games happening with the customization of groceries. It's dark and it's heavy, and we're going to dig right into it. And then what we're going to follow that with are that the tariffs are hurting American farmers, and they want a bailout from Trump. That's right, everyone.
Right.
That's right. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to just wrap things up on a real positive note because the Senate has rejected basically both healthcare bills today. So the odds are the subsidies are most likely going to expire for the for the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. So what could that mean for you? I know for me, it means that my healthcare costs are going to be higher than my mortgage starting in 2026.
Yes.
So that's fun. But we're going to kick things off talking about groceries. As AI infiltration continues, concern is growing in the realm of price customization, specifically at our grocery stores. A new investigation from Consumer Reports, Groundwork Collaborative, and More Perfect Union found that Instacart's use of AI-powered pricing experiments can result in the same grocery item showing up at significantly different prices for different shoppers, in some cases varying as much as 23%, potentially costing households hundreds of dollars more annually. This raises big questions about transparency, fairness, and consumer protection in the era of algorithm-driven grocery delivery. Here's a great quote. Customized pricing, where each customer receives a different price for the same product, is a holy grail for businesses because it boosts profits. With customized pricing, free spending people pay more, while the price sensitive pay less. Just as clothes can be tailored to each person, custom pricing fits each person's abilities and desires to pay. Wow, that is the most dystopian thing I've read in a while. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
that's a hard one to come in at number one. Oh, Nick, let's just dive right into the ethics of this. When you hear about customized pricing in the world that we are existing in right now with the affordability crisis looming over everyone, what is the first thing that came to mind for you?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is the new ways for corporations to game the system, new ways for corporations to max out not just their profit margins, but how to squeeze out from the bottom percent of income earners, which of course they're always trying to do. Because these AI algorithms, at least from my understanding, they don't just look at what you're able to pay, they're looking at what you're willing to pay. Which means if you're somebody who if you're somebody who needs to go to the grocery store and buy things that you need this week, there's not really an ability to just say, "Oh, I'm not going to buy these groceries until prices go down. I'm not going to, I need this canned food. I'm just not going to buy that." You have to feed your families, and if they know that, they can increase the prices on you. And a lot, I guess a lot of people think that with these AI models that they're going to reduce the prices for lower income earners and increase them on higher income earners, but it's actually working out to be quite the opposite.
That was the most shocking part of this, Nick. And I mean, I was shocked reading the whole thing, but like hearing that somehow the rich will pay less and the
Right.
poor will pay more. I was just like, guys, as if you couldn't tell us that you hate poor people more,
Right.
working class people more. Here's another thing to showcase exactly that. And the the issues that I have with this are, of course, very far ranging. But I think what bothers me the most is the United States is a work till you die country, right? It's you are only useful if you are productive. And as more people continue to work under slave wages and longer hours in spaces, they don't have time to go and do their shopping necessarily in person like you might have 10 or 20 years ago. And so they're really relying on Instacart or just the ability to have things delivered to them. It's out of necessity more than convenience, right? So they're
Right.
preying on both of these things, knowing that, I'm working at this job till 6, then I got to go to my other job and then I'll be there until 1 a.m. And oh my gosh, I'm doing that 4 days this week. When am I going to go get toilet paper? I'll Instacart
Right.
it. And now they know I'm willing to pay, or I am going to pay whatever the amount is because I don't have a choice. And so this
Right.
idea that we're once again being forced to be bent at the will of these corporations. And I want to get your thoughts on this because my mind, Nick, I tend to get a little conspiratorial because I can't help it. I start seeing dots connecting everywhere, and I'm just like, oh God, I have like a crazy wall in my mind. And one of those crazy walls right now is this idea that this is coming out at a time when Trump is really pushing against AI regulation at the state levels. And I don't see how this can't connect. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that not having AI regulation could have on something like Instacarting you and I getting something for the same and different prices?
Well, I don't think that this is conspiratorial at all. This is directly correlated with that. There's a
Mhm.
lot when we talk about AI regulation. A lot of people just think it's generative language models, art, all of that stuff. But AI goes so much further than that. It can go to surprising areas in our life. And one of the instances that we're seeing is Instacart prices. But it can also factor into big data. AI can
Mhm.
use, when corporations have these big, giant collections of data, they can use AI to parse through all of that and find out how to
Mhm.
capitalize on it. And this can affect all sorts of different areas in our lives, not just food prices, grocery prices, not just what we pay, how we live our lives, but also things like healthcare. It can affect on even employers, how much they can expect from you at your job using the data that they have about other employees. This can affect many, many, many different aspects of our lives. And we also have to remember that the companies that have the companies that have access to the data, that have access to these AI models, they have not only all the information, but also all the fighting power because AI can also help them with either lawsuits, help them fighting with Congress about regulations, legislation. AI is helping them in a lot of other different ways. So this is impacting our lives from pretty much every angle. Um, when you say that like when you're trying to connect all the dots are connected. Like
Yeah.
this is absolutely true.
No, I appreciate the validation that I'm not losing it because sometimes you could start to feel that way. From your perspective, because what I love about your account and the work that you do on social media as a content creator is you're very steeped in data and you're always looking at a lot of statistical things. What are some of the more alarming trends that you're noticing about affordability in the United States? And how is this sort of the perfect moment for AI to exploit the average American?
So there are a lot of alarming trends
Mhm.
right now. With the cost of living specifically, not just when it comes to grocery prices, but also rent prices. Um, if you look back 60 years, the cost of luxuries were considerably more than the cost of necessities, and now it's
Mhm.
flipped. Um,
Mm.
and so
Wow.
so yeah, and that's also a lot of the reason why when we look at older people and they look at like the spending of younger people, they seem to be they're a lot more judgmental because they think if you buy a cup of Starbucks, a cup of coffee from Starbucks, that you just have the money to spend on other things. But in today's economy, the money that you spend on luxuries doesn't really change your financial situation. If you buy $100 TV, you'd have to buy like 12, 15, 20 of those a month in order to make up the cost of rent. Nobody's buying 20 TVs a month. And they corporations have realized that they can capitalize on the cost of necessities because people just have to pay it. They can be whatever, they can rise up rent however they want to, the price of utilities, the price of food, however much they want to. They can squeeze every dollar out of lower income earners or even just the average American. Um, and that we just have to pay it in order to stay alive.
I think that's what scares the hell out of me right now, Nick, is like, so I was watching this video on TikTok, and this person was just interviewing people on the street, just like, hey, how much debt are you in? And the average like answer was like 30K, 50K, 100K. I mean, it was wild amounts of money. And to your point, I think the older generations have this idea that we're just all, we just all want instant gratification, and we want these
Right.
multiple TVs every month. But in actuality, it's cost of living expenses as well as student loan debt. And so, and
Yeah, student
healthcare
loan debt is
costs.
another one.
Yeah. And we're seeing, I just had a conversation last night here on Substack about student loan debt and how outrageous and egregious it is that our government won't do anything to stop predatory lenders from taking advantage and raising interest rates, because once again, these are the necessities. And so it's very concerning to me when we see the cost of living continuing to go up and up and up, which is impacting the bottom line for a lot of corporations, because they claimed, oh, more people did more spending on Black Friday, but actually, wasn't that also skewed as well?
Right. Yeah, no, I haven't looked at the stats about Black Friday yet, but it would not surprise me. Because Black Friday, especially since you can look at Black Friday deals, not just what they have on sale, but also shopping habits every year, and it's always different depending on what's popular. Also depending on what the necessities are in our current economy for that year. You can't really compare Black Friday from one year to the other because the economy looks different every single year. Some people, in some years, people are buying electronics, people are buying Christmas presents, so on and so forth. Some years, people are spending the money on Black Friday to capitalize on the cheaper prices for things that they need at home. So these are just not comparable.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that line up about the cheaper things that you need for your home, because that's what the argument was, is that no, people aren't spending more. It was
Exactly.
they were waiting for prices to fall that 30%, which actually is probably what it would have just cost base last year,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so they're just waiting for this inflated price point to kind of go down. I mean, I know personally, like even when I'm shopping for groceries at this point, I'm only buying stuff if I see it on sale. And then if it's like, if there's a sale on top of a sale, because I know I can remember, I do the grocery shopping. I remember what that cost a year ago. And it
Right.
wasn't this. And it's a little smaller. I noticed that too. Everything's just a tiny bit smaller. So
Yep.
there's a lot of
Shrinkflation
cons.
exists.
Exactly. There's a lot of cons going on. And I want to talk a little bit about, speaking of food, on to our next topic. And if you're just joining us, I'm Natalie Bencivenga. I'm here with Nick Powers, who's a content creator and an author. And we are discussing the affordability crisis here in the United States. Please feel free to leave any thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to us above. But this second topic I want to talk about was an article in Fortune magazine, and it said, on Monday, December 8th, Trump announced a $12 billion farm aid program, which outlined much needed relief for farmers who sounded the alarms about increasing input costs and fewer export opportunities amid ongoing trade tensions. Farmers will begin receiving funding by the end of February. In a nutshell, tariffs are hurting farmers who want Trump to bail them out. But a cash bailout has only been described as a Band-Aid on a bigger wound. What I find really fascinating about this, Nick, is that a lot of these farmers, these small farmers, voted in favor of the Trump administration. And we know
Absolutely.
that from watching things unfold. And I don't want people to get too excited about, if you are a farmer, if you own a small farm, because a lot of this bailout money is actually going to go to corporatized farms,
Yeah.
large industrial farms. So the average small guy or woman, whoever owns a farm, they're probably not going to see much of this bailout money in the at all. Nick, when you read this story, when you heard about this, what did you make of it, knowing how many other industries continue to get bailed out, and yet students don't get bailed out? We can't seem to get medical relief, like debt relief. What are your thoughts on this?
I have a number of thoughts on this.
I figured you would.
First off, of course, we have the whole what is socialism argument, because we have are we really okay with socialism so long as it only benefits corporations? But also, these bailouts are primarily targeted towards these corporate farms to help them with the prices of these tariffs. But if we're spending the money that we're making on tariffs back where they came from anyway, what is the point of the tariffs?
Mm.
Why?
Sorry, I just had a visceral reaction when you said, I was like, yes.
Right. If every dollar that we're going to make is going to go back to the people paying for it, why does it exist? And to me, what that tells me is these tariffs are solely there so that the smaller farmers, the family-owned farms, are going to be financially drained, and big corporate farms can buy them out. Because it seems like what we're doing is we're charging all of this tariff money, and farms all over the place are having difficulties paying these new prices. But then we're only giving the money back to the bigger corporations. So we're essentially just creating a plan to get rid of smaller farmers and allowing corporate to take over.
I'm not usually at a loss for words, but you made that so clear and it was so succinct as to what's happening. And I can't stress enough how terrifying this is, because we are once again seeing the transfer of wealth from the many to the very few, and now to the few of the few of the few. And when we're talking about something as serious and basic as food, it really scares the hell out of me to think that already, Nick, we know only a few really big companies own most of the food production in the United States.
Right.
So the idea that we could continue to lose more of what little is left really scares me. And I'll say this too. I live in Pennsylvania. There are so many local farms within 10, 20, 30 miles of my home. And I love going to the farmers markets and the seasons that allow it. And I love making friends with all these local growers and talking to them and trying new things and getting their perspectives on food and the world and the environment and the practices that they employ and how they treat their employees. And, I've heard over and over and over from them how scared they are because of what is happening. I don't think people understand farmers really don't make hardly anything to begin with. And a lot of government subsidies have gone into our food system to prop it up. And it's one of those subsidies where I'm like, I'm okay with it because we all need to eat. Like, our tax dollars should go to support food and growth in that way. But I don't want it to go to Tyson Foods or or one of those companies. Like, I want it to go to a farm that I see at my farmer's market. That's not where this money is going.
No, correct.
And I find it rich that a lot of people that have supported Trump, who work in the agricultural industry, that are now being hit hard by this, they're also being hit hard because of ICE, because a lot of the farm workers are being deported or aren't willing to come to work anymore out of fear of deportation. So now we have a two-pronged approach of why this is a crisis. And that is also hitting the industrial large corporate farms as well that rely on seasonal workers. So to me, once again, what you said was so succinct and so well put. It's just like Trump created a crisis, manufactured a crisis with these tariffs, and now he's subsidizing the crisis that he created in order to put small farmers out of business. Like,
correct.
It's wild, Nick.
Yep. And one of the things that we have to remember about this is it's not even all that great for these big corporations either. It does allow them to take over. But because this is a Band-Aid, because we're just giving the money back in lump sums, and there's no guarantee for these big corporate farmers to continue getting that money back that they're paying into the tariffs, it almost requires them to. I mean, Trump and really the Republican Party is continuing to look at loyalty. This is a long-term strategy.
Ugh.
If the tariffs didn't exist, then all of this money would just still be in their pockets. But what he's doing is he's saying, "Oh, we're going to charge you all of this money, and then we're going to give it back so long as you are doing what we want you to do." Um,
Oh
and
my.
yeah, so this isn't a permanent solution for these corporations either. There is no real evidence that he's going to keep giving them this money back, to keep bailing them out. Um, it there's just it's just cookie crumbs.
Nick, this is like reason 4,950 why Trump needs impeached and removed
Yes,
from power and imprisoned. I mean, this man is a danger to our society. His enablers are a danger to our society. And we are watching literally in real time our country falling to pieces
right.
because we are allowing this madman to run us into the ground. I mean, this is a guy that's how many times was he bankrupt? Like, I think it was like
Oh,
6 or 7.
yeah. It
I,
was.
you know,
I don't know the exact number.
yeah, I don't either, but it was a lot. And it's just, it's proof is in the pudding, you guys. I don't know how much
Mhm.
more we need to see. And we know if any Democratic leader had done 1/100th of this, they would have been
Right.
removed from office, and rightfully so. Um,
Right.
this should not be a partisan issue. And I think, I'd love to get into another time when we're together talking about the monopolization of our industries
Yes.
because we're seeing this
Mhm.
playing out with media and so many other spaces. So let's like put a pin in that one because I feel like that's like a whole other topic. But I want to move into our last topic of the night. And this one really was breaking news earlier today. I usually don't do a lot of breaking news because I value my sanity. But this
Mhm.
one just happened, and I feel like we need to talk about it. And it is about the Senate today. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that they rejected dueling health bills just this afternoon, Thursday, December 11th, all but guaranteeing that the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare subsidies, used by more than 20 million Americans, will lapse at the end of the year. I just want to clarify because I get a lot of trolls in my DMs telling me what they think Obamacare is. Obamacare is not insurance, it's just a marketplace that regulates how much insurance companies can charge based on your income, right? So it's
Right.
just a marketplace to buy your insurance that got rid of pre-existing conditions and other things to make insurance a little bit more affordable for people. And it saved a lot of people's lives. So I just want to clarify on that. The Senate voted 51-48 on advancing a GOP healthcare plan that would have expanded health savings accounts as an alternative to the expiring tax credits. I want you guys to understand what that was. It was about $1,000 you would get in an HSA, which we all know means absolutely nothing. And you had to pick a plan that had a very, very high deductible. So that was a terrible trade off and just stupid. The Democrats plan to extend the COVID era enhanced subsidies for 3 years, also received a 51-48 vote. Both of them, of course, falling short of the 60 votes needed to vault a key procedural hurdle. I am just so appalled at the fact that we are here. We know what's about to happen.
Right.
Millions and millions of people are about to lose access to what little healthcare and health insurance that they had. This really, to me, is a death sentence. There is so much blood on all of their
Yes.
hands. But Nick, you've been a very passionate and very outspoken around healthcare and your own experiences. You've written a book. I want to talk a little bit about your book where you've acknowledged some of the stories have been pulled from your real life experiences, but just visceral reactions hearing this breaking news.
Oh, so I have reactions for so my first thoughts is going to be for the families who don't realize what's about to happen. The
Yeah.
families who voted for Trump, who think of Obamacare as something that they don't want to take part in, yet they got their insurance from the ACA,
Mm.
um, and a lot of these even the families that do understand what's going on, even the families that know what the Affordable Care Act is and know exactly where their insurance is coming from, knowing where the subsidies are coming from. Um, so many people are going to have such a huge surprise when they find out how much not only their insurance premiums are going to cost, but when these new plans start rolling out, how much everything is going to cost. Um, another, the thing that I'm struggling with the most about all of this is that we knew this was we were pretty sure this was going to happen several months ago towards the end of the shutdown.
Yeah.
um, when the shutdown was continuing and the Democrats were united in saying we are not going to vote for this budget until it includes the ACA subsidies. We're not going to do that. And then a few nonpartisan or Democratic Congress members sided with the Republicans and asked them to make a deal in the future without any actual promises. Everybody knew.
Yeah.
Um, everybody watching knew. The Republicans, the Republican voters, the Democrats, the Democratic voters. All of us knew that there was not going to be a deal reached with the Republicans on this. We just gave them a free pass to open up the government again. And we gave them a free pass to get rid of so many people's health insurance and to charge the people who can pay for it that much more.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What breaks my
and
heart, too, is to piggyback off of what you're saying here about who's going to be able to afford it. I don't think people understand this is going to impact hospitals because
right.
so many hospitals, especially in rural
Oh, that's
communities,
such a good point.
right? They rely on Medicaid. They rely on whatever it's called in your community. In Pennsylvania, they call it Penny. We have a Penny program. It's the marketplace. So that's the other thing. People don't even know what this is. It's whatever it is in your community. The subsidies. What's happening here is you're going to see a lot of hospitals are going to close because that was the main rollout of their ability to serve communities. You're also going to see maternity deserts now because a lot of the birthing centers rely on Medicaid and rely on subsidized insurance. I don't think people are understanding the connection of the dots here that we are about to see happen. This isn't just, oh, well, I don't care about those people. Well, those people were propping up your doctor's office, which may
That's right.
now close.
Right.
Wow.
And the hospitals that won't close are now going to be flooded. And we have to look at the long-term problem that this is going to cause. When people don't have insurance, but they still need to get taken care of, they don't go through their regular, they don't go through their regular doctor's office visits. They don't go through their normal, like they don't go to their doctor's offices to find something early. Instead, they end up going to the hospital when things get really, really, really bad, and they're not able to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so soon, maybe not in January, maybe not a few months from now, but very soon, we're going to have the hospitals that are still around, that are still doing fine, completely flooded, and that's going to hurt everyone, from people with health insurance, high income earners, everyone.
I want to bring this back to the top of the conversation as we round this out because you just made me think of Costco. I don't know why it popped into my head, but it's going to make sense here in 2 seconds. Okay. I believe he's a senator. He said that a solution, he's a Republican, to our healthcare crisis is to have places like Costco and Amazon sell insurance.
Wow.
Take it in, Nick. Take it in. You guys, I've gotten he is speechless. So this is the Republicans' plan is to further privatize the shit show that is our healthcare system by pulling in large corporations like Amazon and Costco so that they can sell insurance across state lines. Everyone, welcome to the hellscape that is the United States of America. If you wanted to know where capitalism went to die, look no further than the United States of America.
Right here.
Right here. Because, Nick, they're doing mental gymnastics, right? We've heard Trump say they've got concepts of a plan. The Republicans' plan has been to dismantle the ACA for 15 years.
Right.
They're going to celebrate that the day that this happens. They're going to celebrate the deaths, basically, of millions of Americans, including millions of
Right.
children who
Yep.
rely on the ACA. Let's not forget that. But what really gets me going here is we know what the answer is. It's universal health care. Every other
Right.
developed nation in the actually most nations have some form of
Yeah.
health
We
care.
are. Hmm. Yeah. We
So
are one of the few that don't.
literal. So when you hear what I just said about the Republicans' plan and you know where we're at, when you think of affordability in the United States and you think of what could happen now with healthcare, what concerns you the most?
Ooh, what concerns me the most? I mean, it with the removal of these subsidies, my immediate concern is how soon the system is going to start getting clogged, crowded, and eventually fall apart.
Yeah.
Not just doctors' offices, hospitals everywhere. The costs are going to skyrocket. People are not going to be able to pay the cost currently. Um, if you can't pay medical debt, then there are lots of options available, and people take years, decades to pay off medical debt. But this problem that we're going to have with medical debt is going to blow out of proportion. We think that we have problems with medical debt right now. And we can't even, right now, I can't even mathematically imagine what it's going to be in the next couple of months, starting in the next couple of months. Um, and for me, the argument against universal health care from conservatives has always been you won't be able to see your doctor, you won't be able to go to the hospital because of wait times. Well, right now the wait times are already longer than they are in most developed countries.
That's right.
They're already more expensive, and the quality is also worse than it is in most developed countries. Um, but now, when you look at wait times, if you have an emergency in the next couple of months, when you go to the hospital, if the hospitals are overcrowded, like they probably will be, you're not just going to be waiting a few hours for a room. You may not be able to get admitted,
Mm.
and pretty much all of the horror scenarios that conservatives talk about when they talk about universal health care, the amount that you're going to pay for your health care out of your taxes, the amount that our country has to pay, the oversight on a national level, the wait times, the lack of available, the lack of quality care, all of these scenarios that they claim are symptoms of universal health care are going to be happening under our capitalist system and 10 times worse than they can even fathom.
And let's not forget, we're factoring in now the AI that is going to be used to deny people healthcare claims, health insurance claims.
Right.
That's already being enacted. I will add this to you guys.
Right.
When you get a healthcare bill from your insurance company, if you've had a procedure or anything, big or small, go over it with a fine tooth comb because I've talked to a lot of my friends that are doctors. Something like 98% of these bills are wrong and on
Hmm.
purpose. And I can tell you for a fact, someone very close to me, they were going through their bill and they looked and they said, Tylenol. I didn't get a
Yep.
prescription of Tylenol for this. And they're charging me $300 for it.
Right.
So they called, they had to sit on that phone. But guess what? They took that off the bill. So
Hmm.
not only are we being forced to pay higher prices, inflated prices, a Tylenol tablet should never cost $300, okay? A
No.
bag of saline that's $2 should not cost $700, right? This is what's being happening here. We're not seeing any control over pricing at all. So now, once again, they want to call it consumer choice, but what it really means is more of a burden on the consumer. Don't get it twisted. This is not a left or right issue. This is just a right or wrong issue. And I'm also
Right.
annoyed by uh, the the messaging that's coming out from the billionaire class that owns our corporate media that is constantly trying to divide the left and the right in this nation because we oftentimes want the same things. And universal health care is something that polls at a national level that both parties want, just like paid leave, just like affordable housing, just like these basic things. So don't
Mhm.
get it twisted. And speaking of media, Nick, you wrote a book.
I did.
Can you share a
My
little
book.
bit about it?
Sure. Yeah. My book is called. This is the Pizza Monster cover. The normal cover that you can buy is a little bit different, but As the Pizza Burns is about people like us, people that work. The main characters of this book work in fast food, but it's about American consumerism. It's about corporate healthcare, the struggles that lower income earners have to stay alive. While it is a fictional story, every single event that has happened in the book has either happened to me or has happened to somebody that I've worked with when I was working in customer service. Um,
What made you decide to
so,
write a book?
oh, I mean, I've been writing for a very long time. I was writing. I've been writing since I was, in grade school. But my experience in customer service, after I graduated high school, I was in customer service for many years, for
Mhm.
decades. And there was so much that happened just every day in retail, restaurants, fast food, that even family members, even people that I talked to every single day, didn't believe or understand. Um, and I wanted to provide a voice to all of the people who experience that life every single day.
Mhm.
Um, and the result, it took about 7 years to write this book, and the result is As the Pizza Burns. It talks about, like, one of the characters, George, is his real name is Luca. He is a migrant. He came from Mexico, and it talks and I his inspiration. I worked with one of my coworkers. Who was also a migrant who came from Mexico, and all of the struggles that he faced, him and his family, not just getting here, but staying here. Um, Everything that happened to George in this book happened to my friend. There's actually like, I talk about him a little bit in the letter from the author at the end. There's another character called Max, who is a single mom, and her son has medical issues, and it talks about her struggles making enough money to pay for his medical treatments, but also um, the how she is able to how she struggles with going to work when she has to be a mom while
Yeah.
he's not while he's recovering from a lot of these treatments.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but all of these events in this book happen to people that I know personally, and me. So yeah, the book's called As the Pizza Burns. It's been out for a little while now. You can get it anywhere you buy books. It's also on Audible. There are two different audiobooks. One of them is by a narrator that is like one of them. The audiobook narrator is by Julian Banks, somebody who I worked with in retail for a long
Oh,
time.
wow.
So Julian's I have I personally love Julian's rendition of this book. But the other one is also very, very good. Um, you can either one, just listen to whichever voice you prefer. And Yeah, there. That's
Wonderful. I think that's wonderful. I can't wait to read it. I have it on my list of books for the holiday season, so I'm going to be purchasing it myself. I'm really excited that you did this. And as always, I appreciate you joining me, speaking truth to power and breaking things down for people. Like I said, I really appreciate your work, especially all the data that you pull. I think it's really important that we're not just talking about these things, but that we're investigating them and researching them because I love a receipt. So
mhm.
I use a lot of your stuff when I need a receipt. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody that joined in tonight for Facts Over Fear. This will be the playback. I will put it up later tonight. So you can check it out if you just joined us during different parts of it. And until next time, everyone, as always, please take care of yourselves and each other. Good night. And thank you, Nick.
Thank you for having me on.
Anytime.